In the previous video lessons, in the last lessons, we introduced the concept of a minor scale. We learned why we need to introduce three different minor scales, while in the case of the major scale we have only one major scale. So we have learned the three different minor scales. So we introduced them. So we have the natural, the harmonic, and the melodic minor scales. In the case of the melodic minor scales, we also said that we need to distinguish between an ascending a descending melodic scale. So all these aspects, all these topics, we talked about them in the previous video lesson. And today we are going to go on, we are going to move on. So we are going to find a method, to introduce a method to find the notes of all the three minor scales. So while in the case of the major scale, we only need to determine the notes, of course, of one major scale. In the case of the minor scales, of course, since we have three minor scales, of course, we need to know all the three minor scales. So let's introduce this method. This method is very easy, and it is made up of different steps. So let's start from the first step. The first step is about the relative major of the minor scale. In fact, we said that when we have a minor scale, we also have a relative major scale. So there is a relationship between a major and a minor scale. So this was the way that allows us to introduce the concept of the minor scale. So in this case, we said that since we have a major scale, if we take the sixth degree of this scale, this major scale, on the sixth degree, we can build, starting from this, so being this the tonic, we can build a new scale, which is of course the relative minor scale relative to the major scale. So of course in the C major scale we have the relative minor, which is of course the A minor scale, since the A is the sixth degree of the C major scale. Okay. So why do we need to talk about the relative major, about the first step of this method? It is fundamental, it is essential to find the relative major, because we know that the notes of the relative major scale are the same notes of the minor scale. Of course, in the case of the minor scales, we have to start from another note, so the tonic is different, but the notes are always the same. The alteration are always the same between the the major scale and the relative minor scale. Of course, we are talking now in this moment we are talking about the natural minor scale. Well, so at this point we need to know, first off, we need to know the relative major of our minor scale, because we need to know all the notes of the natural minor scale. So the first step is this: to find the relative major of the minor scale that we want to build, of which we want to know the different notes. So how can we find the relative major if we have a minor scale? How can we find the relative major? It is not so easy if we think about it, because I mean, if I have the A minor scale, to find the relative major, I should think about the sixth degree of the relative major. So I should ask myself, of which major scale is A the sixth degree? And so for this example, of course, it is very easy, because we we already know that the relative major of A minor is C major. But for example, if we take the C sharp minor scale and we want to know which is the relative major of this minor scale, of the C sharp minor scale, we have to find the sixth. We have to think about this note as a sixth degree of which major scale. So it is not so easy. We have to introduce an easier method than this one, in which we are asking ourselves of which major scale is, for example, C sharp the sixth degree. So this easier method is the following. First of all, we have to take the tonic note of the minor scale we want to build. We want to know the notes of. So, for example, in the case of the A minor scale, of course, the tonic note is the A. So we take this note, then we have to move up. First of all, we have to move a whole tone higher. So I have to move up a whole tone. So I have to move a whole tone higher. And then I have again to move up one half tone. So first of all, one whole tone and then one half tone. So from this I have to go up. So in this direction, one whole tone, and then I have also one half tone. Before we go on with this explanation, with this topic, it is very important that we notice this aspect, that the half tone we have to find, we have to move through, is a diatonic half tone and not a chromatic half tone. So the second step, the first one is a whole tone higher, and the second step, of course, is a half tone higher, and this is a diatonic half tone. So before we go on, please let me remind you the difference between a chromatic half tone and a diatonic half tone. So a chromatic half tone is made up of we can say it is when we alter note, and I mean the same note. When we alter the same degree. For example, if I take the G, which is, for example, the fifth degree of the C major scale, I want to alter it. So I use a chromatic alteration, for example, a sharp. So I get a G sharp. In this case, as you can see, I have a half tone in which between two notes with the same name, while since we have G and G sharp, so it is always G, while in this case it is G sharp. So in the case that we have a half tone between notes with the same name, so for example F and F sharp and B flat and B natural and so on, we call it a chromatic half tone. While in the case in which we have a half tone between two different degrees, so between two notes with a different name, so for example like G sharp and A natural, here we have two different names, so G sharp, of course, and A, so G and A, different names, different degrees, of course. So in this case we call it a diatonic half tone. So it is very important, this aspect, that in the second step of our in which we of the movement of the moving that we use to find the tonic of the relative major, we have to use a diatonic half tone. So for example, if I take the F and I want to find, for example, let's imagine we want to know the relative major of F minor. I have to move up in this way, so a whole tone, and then I get so this is the G, and then I have to move a diatonic half tone higher. So I have to go from the G to the A flat, because it is not a G sharp, because if it was a G sharp, in this case I would have a chromatic half tone between G and G sharp. So if I take G and A flat, of course this is a diatonic half tone. So this is the first step that we have to use to find the tonic of the relative major of course the minor scale we want to build. We want to know the notes of. Well, so let's take another example. I take the C sharp minor scale, and so we say that the first step of this method, the first point, is to find out the tonic of the relative major. So in this case I have to move up, so I have to go I have to use one whole tone, so C sharp, D sharp, because between these two notes there is one whole tone. Then I have to move up again, so in this case I have to use one diatonic half tone, so from the D sharp to the E. In fact, we have two different names between these two notes. Well, at this point we have now two, so in this case the E will be the note, the tonic note of the relative major of the C minor scale, C sharp minor scale. So in this case it should be it is the E major scale. So let's take again the A minor scale. So in this case, if I find the tonic note, in this case it is the tonic note of the relative major. In this case it is the C note. Well, so the second step of our method, the second point we could call it, is to find the notes of the relative major scale. And you already know how to do it, because we learned very well, we learned in depth how to do it in a previous video lesson. So in this way, if I find all the notes of the relative major scale, so if I find out that there are no alteration, or maybe there is for example an F sharp or a B flat and so on, I can apply this to my minor scale, because we said that the minor scale has the same notes as the relative major scale. So for example, in the case of the A minor scale, I said, okay, we found out that we have the C as a tonic note of the relative major, so C major is the relative major, of course. These are the notes, so C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. And then I have to use these notes. These are the notes, the same note of the natural minor scale. So this is the first scale where we introduce, which we find the notes of. But of course, I have to start from the tonic note of the minor scale. So in this case, I will have A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, so the same notes of the C major scale, but starting from the tonic note of the minor scale. Well, so in this way we are able to find all the notes of the natural minor scale, and then of course we can also we can also find the notes of the harmonic minor scale. It is very easy since we know all the notes of the natural minor scale. Why? It is very easy. We don't need to remember some rules or something like this, or yes, we don't have to remember anything. We only have to think about it. Let's remember why do we have the need, I mean, to introduce the harmonic minor scale. It was because we did have the need, because there was the need to have the leading tone, so to have a note, the seventh degree, alter the seventh degree, because of course in the natural minor scales there is an interval which is a whole tone interval between the seventh and the first degree and the octave degree, but we know that we need to have a half tone interval between the seventh and the first degree, between the leading tone and the tonic. So in the case of the natural minor scale, we don't have a real leading tone because we have a whole tone interval between these two tones. And in the case of the so we need to alter with a chromatic alteration, of course, the seventh degree to, and in this case, of course, we have a G sharp, so an augmented seventh degree, to have the leading tone. So in this way, we have altered the seventh degree. So we only have to remember that between the natural and the harmonic minor scale, there is only one degree. We have only one difference, which is of course the seventh degree. Since in the case of the natural, we have a natural, of course, seventh degree. In the case, while in the case of the harmonic minor scale, we have an augmented seventh degree. So once we have found out all the notes of any natural scale, it is very easy to find out also the notes of the harmonic minor scale, since there is only this difference, the seventh degree. So in the case of, for example, of the A minor scale, in this case I have to take the seventh degree and I have to get a chromatic alteration. So I have to move from G to G sharp. Of course, it is a chromatic half tone in this case, because I have a chromatic alteration to alter this degree. And in this way I have reached my goal. So I have found all the notes, of course, of the harmonic minor scale. And now we reached the last one of the last steps of our method, because now we have to find the notes of the melodic minor scale. So since we have to distinguish between the two different melodic scales, so the ascending scale and the descending scale, in the case of the ascending melodic minor scale, we only have to introduce also the sixth degree, the altered sixth degree. So if I take the harmonic minor scale, which already have the augmented seventh degree, so once I have the harmonic minor scale, I only have to alter to use a chromatic alteration to get the augmented sixth degree. So of course in this case, since the natural sixth degree is an F natural, I have to get a chromatic alteration, and I have to move a chromatic half tone higher, so from the F to the F sharp, and in this way I get my augmented sixth degree. So in this case, of course, the notes of the ascending melodic minor scale, of course, we are talking, of course, about the A minor scale, are A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, C sharp, and of course A. And the last step is about finding the notes of the descending melodic minor scale. But of course, we already know them, because we know that the notes of the descending melodic minor scale are the same as the natural minor scale. So of course we only have to start from the octave degree, for example, we can call it in this way, and to use them, of course we have to descend. So I start from the first, then I go down this way, because it is a descending melodic minor scale. So in a descending way, I use the same notes as the natural minor scale. So to summarize this method, we can repeat all the different steps. So the first one is to find the tonic of the minor scale which we want to find the note of. Second step is to find the tonic of the relative major, and we have to do this only by going up, moving up one whole tone, and then again moving up one diatonic half tone. The third step is to find all the notes of the relative major scale, which of course are the same notes of the natural minor scale. So we come to the fourth step, which is to use the same notes as the relative major scales, but starting from the tonic note of the minor scale. But of course this is quite intuitive. Then we come to the fifth step, which is about finding the harmonic minor scale. We only need, once we have found all the notes of the natural minor scale, we only need to alter the seventh degree, so to use the augmented seventh degree. Well, and then we of course come to the sixth step, which is to find the notes of the ascending melodic minor scale. And in this case, of course, since we start once we have found the notes of the harmonic minor scale, we only need, in addition, to alter also the sixth degree. So we need it to have the augmented sixth degree. Of course, we have to alter, getting we can say a chromatic alteration, an ascending chromatic alteration, of course. So, and then we come to the last step, which is to find the notes of the descending melodic minor scale, which of course are the same notes of the natural minor scale. Since in this case, of course, we have to use them in a descending way.